Dear souls, welcome to the part 3 of the devotional ladder and stumbling blocks. The key focus of this course is to remove the unwanted things from our heart, unearth and everything. In the Padma Purana, there are 10 offenses against the holy name that are mentioned, which every devotee in ISKCON recites during Mangalarti, right after Mangalarti. The first thing is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives of propagating the holy name of the Lord. The second is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of name of Lord Vishnu. The third is to disobey the orders of spiritual master. So every devotee who is serious takes initiation from a blood and flesh spiritual master who can correct him and guide him through his journey or her journey. And to disobey the orders of such a spiritual master is considered to be an offense. The fourth is to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance of the Vedic version. The fifth is to consider the glories of chanting of Hare Krishna as an imagination, to give some mundane interpretation to the holy name of the Lord, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanta. Fruitive activities means something that gives you a fruit. So some result you are expecting from performing devotion. That is also an offense. And then to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. So we can tell them to chant Hare Krishna, that it is good for them in the spiritual path, but not unnecessarily discuss the intricate details of the power of the holy name. And the 10th is to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It's an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, which is Krishna Prema. So this inattentiveness is a very, very dangerous thing. Initially, we may think that this is very trivial or it's not so serious, but over a period of time, these offenses have a cumulative effect and we may lose the taste for chanting the holy name. So the reason I covered this is in order to go into a more deep topic. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami describes 5 prominent effects of offensively chanting Sri Krishna's transcendental names. That is the Hare Krishna mantra specifically. The 5 effects are crookedness, faithlessness, absorption in mundane objects that erodes one's faith in Krishna, slackness in devotional service, and pride. So if you look at the 5 areas in detail, the first one is crookedness or kautilya. Kautilya means one may become crooked in their dealings. Offenders to the Nama or the holy name become crooked in their dealings with others. They may become disrespectful towards Lord Sri Hari, Sri Guru and other devotees and start acting in various deceitful ways. In Skanda Purana, Muni Parasara says, crooked, deceitful people cannot attain Govinda Bhakti or chant and remember Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The second danger is the faithlessness. Offenders to the Nama or the holy name gradually become faithless. So little by little, their faith gets whittled away. They lose their conviction about the glories of Krishna Bhakti and start harboring contrary non-devotional ideas. The third is distraction. So Nama Aparadis, Aparada means an offense. So people who offend the holy name become absorbed in material objects and pursuits. Oh, let me make more money. Let me get promoted. Let me buy a new car. I want to attain a degree. I want to do PMP certification or artificial intelligence certification. In this way, they veer off and they go off in a tangent to pursue material things. Slackening devotion, that's the fourth danger. So as a result of nama paradas or offenses, once bhakti bhajan wanes, and once again they become absorbed in sense gratification, maya. Actually, we are always in maya. Only when we turn our attention to Krishna, we get temporary relief from maya. But the moment you allow it to slacken a little bit due to offenses, we start thinking excessively about our own body. Maybe we'll go to the gym, let's now get our muscles done, or you may get a wheat protein shake, or hang around with people who are more on the bodily platform. And then finally, the fifth one is pride. When one offends Sri Nama Prabhu, Nama Prabhu means the holy name is also a personality, and we offend that Nama Prabhu, we start feeling proud of our devotional service and activities. And I've seen this happen to many of us. It has happened to me as well, getting a little bit of pride over a period of time. And this in turn generates other offenses like disrespecting Vaishnavas. Initially, you may do a dandavats um, to a senior Vaishnava, and then later on, a half dandavats. Later on, you may just bow down physically the upper torso. Later on, you may just fold your hands. And finally, you may come to just seeing them and smiling and not even paying respects. So, as they say, pride precedes a fall. So, be careful in offenses. So, if you become lax in bhajana, the offenses intensify. So, what happens is sometimes we may do a little bit of offense that leads to us being a little lax or careless in bhajana, and then that leads to more offenses. So, this is like a downward spiral of offenses. So, you keep on going down, down, down. So, this is the most prominent hindrance to bhakti, anarthas arising from aparadha. Anarthas arising from practice of bhakti is also known as bhakti utta anarthas. So what happens is we get into this LPP syndrome, Labha Puja Pratishta. So Labha means I want to have some profit. Oh, if I did this, if I buy this land and sell it after 2 years, or if I take this other position, I'll get more richer. So we want it to be a devotee, but then we go off in this material gain tangent. And that's especially true of people who work in the IT sector, where the IT economy is ever expanding. More and more goods and services are produced. So there is more labha. People may get stock options, and then they're waiting for those options to mature, or company give them stock and the stock market is usually going up. So you are getting more and more profit. So you get sucked away into that. Second is worship. Everybody will come and say, "Oh Prabhu, your class was so good. Oh Prabhu, you sing so nicely." So they start quasi worship of your devotional activities, and we get stuck in that. The third one is recognition, pratishtha. Oh Prabhu, you are so good. Because of you, we have this new temple in this city. Or because of you, we have this good festival. Festival of India was conducted so nicely. Rath Yatra was so nice because of you. So then people start thinking, oh, I am the center of the universe. I must be really good. And then that pratishtha is again a stumbling block and a slippery slope. So if one becomes lax in bhajana, one's anarthas will intensify, so much so that desire to perform bhajana will disappear altogether. So we might become exactly where we were 10 years ago when we first started our devotional life, or 20 years ago even. So here are some scriptural quotes on committing offenses. Jivan mukta api punar bandhanam yanti karma bihi yadi achintya mahasaktau bhagavati aparadinaha. So Srila Jiva Goswami, in his wonderful book called Laghu Toshani, which is a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Purana, he made this statement. So translated as, even if a person is liberated in this life, he again becomes bound to the worldliness, being addicted to material desires because of offenses to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here's a quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikhami Sakale Ashanta. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. So, since a devotee of Krishna is free from all material desires, which is Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, is peaceful. Those who desire material enjoyment, liberation from worldliness, and mystic perfections are restless. So you'll see most of the high-tech workers who have a lot of stock given by their company and the stock fluctuates, they go through this Garana Tharala, ups and downs. And then people who want to get liberated just by doing some pranayama or using some Raja Yoga, or following one of the thousands of bogus gurus floating around, they will get sucked away too. And then mystic perfections like yoga siddhis. Of course, the good news is almost nobody on the planet can do yoga perfectly, the Ashtanga yoga in the modern day, because they are not following the yamas and niyamas, the do's and don'ts. They cannot even do pranayama properly, and their bodies are not fit to do Ashtanga yoga, the various asanas. So, but in any case, anybody who desire material enjoyment or liberation from the cycle of birth and death, worldliness, and mystic perfections are always restless. So, what we need to desire is love of God, not even liberation. And then in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said, Atma Ramasya Munayo Nirgantre Api Urukrame Kurvanti Ahaitukim Bhaktim Ittam Bhuta Guno Harihi. Even Munis, who were deeply absorbed in contemplating Brahma and immersed in the delight of realizing Brahma, although already liberated from anger and false ego, performed causeless devotional service to Bhagavan. So even Munis who are already liberated, they perform bhakti or devotional service. This is because Bhagavan's qualities are so full of madhurya that they attract everyone to him. And we need to judge the any theory by its result. Phalena phalakaranam anumiyate. So you will see that when you follow devotion, you get results. So here's the three types of anarthas. One is anarthas arising from impious and pious activities. So we do pious activities like going to temples, or like doing some basic, devotional activity, but not really the proper devotion. Maybe we may give some donations, we may do some basics. So we get some pious activities, and we may do some impious things like hanging around in a party with other people who are drinking or eating meat. So those are impious activities. So this dushkrotatta anarthas and sukrotatta anarthas, the both of these get eradicated by chanting of the holy name. But it has to be done properly. Nama parad can not give you the desired result. So Nama, chanting of the holy name, can reduce other anarthas. But if you do it offensively, then it won't work and you may get a contrary result. Then eradication of anarthas arising from practice of devotion, bhakti uttha anarthas, and then eradication of anarthas arising from offenses like seva aparad, aparadhota anarthas. So Nama Prabhu, what does he do? He conceals his power from offenders to the holy name. Why? Because he becomes displeased with them chanting the holy name without proper understanding. In general, chanting the holy name Namagrahana leads to ascending to Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha Arohana. It should be very simple. You chant the holy name, your doors of Vaikuntha are open. Then why is it not happening to me? You should ask. Offenders to Nama do not meet with Yamaraj because they cannot become purified. The mercy of the holy name destroys all types of anarthas. So what happens? If you chant Hare Krishna, you won't meet Yamaraj because Yamaraj say, oh, he's a devotee, he'll let you go. However, we cannot become purified because we are committing offenses. So we won't go to Yamaloka or hell, but at the same time, we will not go to Vaikuntha. There is no Vaikuntha Arohana. Namaprad makes one consider that which is transcendental to material taste for bhakti returns to one who has committed aparad. So what happens? I commit offenses and then I lose interest in devotional life, but it's not permanent, right? So Nama Prabhu will give us some suffering for the result of the offenses. And after that, some time, a long time usually, the effects of offenses weaken and then we can resume our devotion. The bhakta is free from offenses and prarabdha karma, even if devoid of prema or undergoing external miseries. So our prarabdha karma is already put on hold when you chant the holy name, but we have to be free from offenses. Bhagavan, being pleased with an inoffensive sadhaka, bestows his mercy at the appropriate time, not immediately. It's not like, oh, Krishna, I've been chanting for 5 years, where is the result? No, Lord is not obligated to give you a result. It'll happen according to his calendar, not according to your timeline. Bhagavan personally confers suffering upon his devotees to increase their humility and eagerness. Sometimes people don't want to do devotional service because, oh, the Lord may put me into a lot of trouble. But that's a very foolish reason. Okay, let the Lord put you into trouble to test you, but you should continue devotion. So suffering he endures, which means the devotee endures, is given by Bhagavan. It's not prarabdha karma anymore because we are already under Krishna's shelter. Once you start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Simply by uttering your holy name, that prarabdha karma is destroyed. This is one of the quotes. So, some more quotes. Bhagavan also said, the great ailment of poverty is a symptom of my special mercy. So, sometimes Bhagavan, to test you, will take away your job, take away your house. It has happened to some of the devotees that I know from the Seattle area and other places on the planet. People who had decent jobs and decent houses, they were suddenly put into poverty over a period of just a couple of years. Hence, for the devotee's auspiciousness, Bhagavan purposefully gives him sorrow, a humbling situation, and so on. This is to show us and make us more humble. So, there is a very famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita, Yasyami anugrhnami harishye tadhanam shanaye tato dhanam tyajanti yasya swajana dukkha dukkitam. So what happens is swajana, even your own people will start hating you because you lost all of your wealth or power or position. And then that is the platform when you say, now nobody cares for me. Krishna, I am yours. Please take me, Krishna. Normally, our tendency is give me Krishna, give me a car, give me a good spouse, give me good kids, give me money. But here the prayer is take me, Krishna. So the translation, I gradually take away all the wealth of the person I favor. Experiencing hardship upon hardship, my impoverished devotee is abandoned by his kith and kin. So swajana dukkha dukkhitam. Your swajanas, your family members will kick you out, which is the sign that you are ready for going to the exalted world of Goloka Vrindavan or Vaikunta, depending upon our mood and our amount of love we develop for the Lord. So one more quote. Tadasma saranam hridayam batidam yadgriha maner harinamadheyaina vikriye tata yada vikaro netra jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha. Despite profusely chanting the name of Sri Hari, Gatra Ruheshu Harshaha, Gatra. That person who does not experience ecstatic transformations such as melting heart, tears, and horripilation, which is also one form of lamentation, must have a heart that is hard like iron. So, I've been chanting for many years. So, if I don't experience the ecstatic transformations, which are difficult to come by the way, which means I have a heart that is hard like iron. Of course, not all is lost. I need to continue to practice my sadhana so that at some point the heart starts melting. So, continuing, even though the offender has not received the result of bhajana, he is still Sri Nama Prabhu's object of protection and nourishment. So, you are still in his territory. You may not have gotten the desired result. That's okay. But you are still under the protection of Lord Sri Hari. If a person does not experience the result of holy name, he is to understand that he must have committed aparadha. So there is nama aparadha, dhama aparadha, seva aparadha, ityadi, etc. And sometimes we may have committed an offense unintentionally, ajnata aparadha. Just like there is the concept of ajnata sukriti. How do we come to devotion? We may have accidentally done some devotional activity. like holding the door open for a pure devotee to walk past. Like in the story of Srila Prabhupada, there was a air flight attendant in the airline who served him with some fruits because Prabhupada would not eat anything other than fruits. He would not touch any cooked food given prepared by non-devotees of Krishna. So she gave nice cut fruit to him. And 20 years later, that Ajnata Sukruti flowered into her own devotion. She became a devotee later on. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tadasma Sharanam Hridayam Batedam Yad Grihanair Harinama Dhyeyaina Vikriyeta Tayada Vikaro Netra Jalam Gatra Ruheshu Harshaha. So, when the heart melts, tear flows from the eyes. Harsha. So, tears from your eyes. Tears of happiness, harsha. And all the hairs on the body stand on end. Right? So, first we talked about why our heart is not melting. And now, what happens if the heart melts? Tears flow from the eyes and hairs on the body stand at end. We may experience this once in a while when we are in an ecstatic kirtan, but that lasts only for a few seconds. Now, how do you make it last forever? By not committing offenses. So, here are some symptoms of a genuine melting of the heart. One is we develop the quality of forbearance, kshanti. Second is we will always effectively use our time, avyartha kalatva, always working for Krishna, preaching his glories, serving him by cooking for him, cleaning his kitchen, his temple, making garlands for him, serving him on the altar, preaching, which is very important. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there is no one more dear to him than one who preaches his gospel to the condemned civilization that we are in. So, effectively using our time will take us dear to Krishna, closer to Krishna. The third one is indifference to allurements of this world, virakti. So, bhakti paresho anubhava, virakti anyatracha. How do you know that your bhakti is progressing? Is your virakti increasing? I have to evaluate myself. Is my virakti increasing? It doesn't look like it, but maybe there is some subtle change going on in my consciousness. And that's what we need to work on. By not committing offenses to Vaishnavas, to Dhamma, to Nama, etc. In the next, absence of pride. Mana sunyata. So mana apimanayor, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Whether you get mana or apamana, you still have to be neutral. No pride cultivated. Then a steadfast conviction that Krishna will surely bestow his mercy. Asha bandha. Asha ke saath jeete raho. With that hope that one day my Lord Krishna will come and touch me. He will take me to his kingdom by holding my hand. Like that. So we need to have that conviction that ek din aayega, Krishna will bestow his mercy. Then intense longing to obtain one's goal. Samutkantha. So longing, yes, I want to reach my Papa Krishna, my father, my eternal father. I want to go and serve him. Just like George Harrison sang in one of his songs, the Beatles songs. I want to meet you, my Lord. So you shouldn't go and hear this song, My Sweet Lord, in various online forums. So his song, he always continuously sings, I want to go with you, my Lord. I want to touch you, my Lord. I want to see you, my Lord. Like that. And then an unceasing relish for chanting the holy name. Nama Gane Sadha Ruchihi. Nama, just the name is sufficient. Gane, to sing. Sada, every time. Ruchi, taste. This get the taste of chanting again and again. So what do you and I do when we get liberated, when we go to the spiritual world? We continue with this same sadhana. We continue to glorify Lord. It's not like you go there and automatically you stop everything. No, this is, we are planning and we are training ourselves to come into that 24/7 chanting of the holy name within the heart, on your lips, with symptoms on your body. Then attachment to hearing narrations of Bhagwan's qualities. Asakti stat guna dhyane. So his gunas, Bhagwan has many gunas. Just developing that asakti. Oh, my Lord is like this. Let's hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's hear from Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, from the various elevated sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. We need to develop that attachment to hearing. Finally, attraction to places where Bhagavan resides. Pritis tad vasati stale. Preeti, develop that preeti, love for vasati stale, where the Lord has lived, like Vrindavan, Ayodhya. Now they are building a beautiful Lord Ram temple in Ayodhya. Mathura, Lord Krishna's Janmasthan, which happened to be a jail 5,035 years ago. And places like Badrinath and Gangotri, Yamunotri, places like Jagannath Puri, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent over 16 years of his lifetime there in Jagannath Puri. So, Pritis tad vasati stale. So, one point before we conclude this session, the part 3 of the Anartha Nivriti process. Those who are offensive and jealous of the prosperity of others may utter the holy name a lot, but because the name is displeased with them, their heart does not melt with devotional sentiment. So I can give you my own personal example. There were times that I became jealous of the prosperity of others because they have a better voice or better body or better wealth or better position. And I found that it was not good for me. So I hope you don't fall into the same trap. So we'll conclude this session. Let's meet again in session 4. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.